generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet. Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel, Dyad in the Rough. Today I am giving my thoughts on the first half performance by the Detroit Tigers. So just to give you a small quick background, I have been a Tigers fan since '06, so I've seen quite a few things. It's kind of crazy to think it's almost been 20 years since I've been watching the Tigers. So I'm going to give some of my input on what I've seen so far this year and maybe what I'm hoping to see going forward, and also talking about some like trade talk and all that good stuff. So first things first, I mean it's no uh, it's definitive, their record 47 and 50. They are currently a losing team, but we cannot ignore what they did in their final 10 games leading up to the All-Star break. I believe they went 8-2 down the stretch, where they had one loss to the Dodgers and one loss to the Guardians, and then they took care of the Reds. So um, I think it is optimistic to think about, what's going on in the Tigers' future for the second half of the season. Of course, I feel like Riley Green has really started to come into his own. I mean, if you look on ESPN and you look at the Tigers' stats, it is Riley Green all across the board as far as batting average, home runs, RBIs, on base percentage, hits, everything. So I feel like Riley Green is really starting to come into his own. Honestly, I feel like the Tigers should take the opportunity and give him a major extension, keep Riley Green as a Tiger for a long time. I think he has shown to be a proven, uh, effective piece of the Tigers team. And so I really want to see them lock him up for a long period of time. Uh, some of the other pieces on the offense, I actually didn't know much about, like Marcana. I didn't know much about Winsel Perez, and there's a lot of pieces that they are relying on right now that I didn't know much about these players before the season started. Gio Urshela, I know he was on some good teams in the past, but I didn't really know much about him himself. So I think a lot of these players have been uh, like a pleasant surprise. So like Winsel Perez, he's batting, 260 right now, and you can't argue with that, especially being a rookie. Gio Urshela batting at 252, it's respectable. I mean, I would say 250 and above, I would consider a good player. 280 and higher, you're probably a great player. So I think there's some really good things happening there. Of course, the elephant in the room is Javi Baez. I really feel for the guy because I want him to be great. I want him to be amazing on the Tigers. I want him to be a contributor to a lot of the great things that the Tigers, could be accomplishing. And so I feel like if there's a way for him to turn it around, maybe get some of the crowd behind him to get some encouragement, and, give him a reason to come out and, uh, you know, perform crazy well, like hit that dinger or drive in that run, get the crowd roaring. I think we could really pick him up. One of the things that I wasn't really the fondest of, because again, at the end of all this, the players are still humans, right? They still have their own everyday lives just like we do. I know they get paid a ridiculous amount of money, but they still have lives. And when we went to a Tigers game this year, Javi Baez was going to throw the ball into the crowd. And someone next to us basically said, I've never booed you before, and which means there's probably a good sized crowd that has, right? And so Has he done some bad things? Of course. Has he lived up to $28 million a year? I would say no. But if we don't give him the tools and we don't give him the support, he won't get there anyways. So we have to, I would still try to really embrace Javi Baez. He's going to be with the Tigers for a while unless they decide to cut his contract early, which would cost the Tigers a considerable amount of money. So, which is why I don't foresee them doing that. He's going to be around, so we have to support him. I'm hoping to get Kerry Carpenter back as soon as possible. I think I've heard some rumors that he may not be back just because of what's going on with him. Spencer Torkelson, wow, what a 180, right? Because last year, the second half of the season, he was on fire. I thought he was going to come out this season just picking up where he left off, and honestly, he really hasn't. And it's kind of scary to think about that, right? Um, I thinking kind of towards the trade deadline, I would not be shocked if Torkelson is put into some sort of package deal, just because he's had some time with the Tigers, even though he has shown that he's had some greatness. Unfortunately, he has fallen back into that rhythm of just not being able to figure it out. He does pretty great defensively. We can't knock him really there, but his offensive numbers are not there for what you want at first base, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, if you're at first base, I'm looking for a good 270, 280 hitter with some pop. I know that might be asking too much, but I mean, that's what was kind of engraved into my mind growing up as a Tigers fan. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping. And I'm not quite sure that's where I don't know if he's going to be there within the next couple of years. Um, I would say probably the biggest turnaround I've seen so far this year is Colt Keith. Colt Keith started off the season not doing so well. Myself, I was a little bit worried to see if he was going to get sent down. I really didn't want them to, especially with his new paycheck, right? They keep saying, well, we're going to keep Javi Baez up here because he gets paid too much. Well, there's no reason to send Colt Keith down either if he's getting paid too much. And so I'm glad they're giving him some time to develop. And I feel like he's really starting to come into his own here. His last couple of weeks, he has been putting up some solid numbers across the board, not only just average, but also in the power department. So I think Colt Keith, if he continues what he's doing into the second half and keeps it consistent, definitely will be upgrading our offensive numbers in the second half. Thinking about pitching, though, I mean, of course, there is hitting, which arguably I would say is the bigger issue of the two. We just don't have a solid offense. It's very spurty, and we have way too many games that are close games, and I wish the Tigers could find a way to get some more clicking on all cylinders within their offense. Pitching, it is, without a doubt, an impressive season by Tarek Skubal. He has easily become my favorite Tiger over the last couple years, just because I think he is a fighter. He is one that wants to just dominate, and his mindset is, I will run you over. And so I really like that about Skubal. He's definitely in the running for a Cy Young award. I if he keeps it the way he's at and maybe even ups it a little bit, which is probably asking a little bit too much considering he's doing such great things already on a team that doesn't necessarily perform, as well as some of the other teams where those great pitchers are as well. Um, I think Skubal, he could even have a run at a triple crown just like Verlander had. Um, I think that's kind of a little out of reach, but what I do think could be within reach, it could definitely be a 200/250 strikeout year for him. I believe his ERA could stay below 3, and I definitely believe he could have a 20-win season as long as he stays healthy. And that would be amazing to see. The Tigers have not had that in a long time. And so, with that being said, just like Riley Green, I think the Tigers need to take a look at Skubal and really invest. They need to build around Skubal and, have him drive the pitching. Uh, Jack Flaherty, he's been a really cool surprise, at least for me. I mean, I've used him in MLB The Show a handful of times. He actually hasn't done super well. I have not done well using him in the game. Um, so my thoughts about him being on the team was a little mixed, but he's definitely proven that he's, you know, really good. He struggled a little at first, got that ERA a little bit too high, but as of late, I mean, he is, how many wins does he have? Flaherty has 6 wins. I really don't think that that's very representative of what he has accomplished. I mean, his ERA is 3.13. I think within a couple, maybe 2 or 3 games, he'll probably be below three, just like Scooble. His strikeout numbers are up. They are great. 119 strikeouts already. So I think all around, I think Flaherty was a great pickup in the off season. The thing that I'm worried about is I think he's going to end up being some sort of trade bait. If they trade Scooble, I will probably cry. But if we were to get rid of a pitcher that is good and could bring in some solid talent to the Tigers, I think Flaherty would be the one that people would take. Um, with that being said, though, I also don't want the Tigers to just throw away their pitchers. I do not want to see a pitcher that is performing really well and we get some prospects. I have grown to hate that over the last like 10 years. I don't care how good these players look in the minor leagues. They're completely different compared to the majors. If we're going to Right now, if we are going to be trading a player that is proven to be good, I want somebody that is proven to be good. You know, I still can't believe what happened with some of the trades in the past, like the Verlander trade, Scherzer trade. Most of that stuff doesn't even contribute to our team anymore. So I'm hoping with the trade deadline that if we do end up trading somebody, that we get some good stuff there. Another potential person I could see being traded, although I don't want them to be, would be Reese Olson. He is young. He is really good at what he does. He is competitive. He's right in the heart of our rotation, and I think that he is going, if he stays a Tiger, I think he will be a huge impact. I could definitely see Skubal and Olson being a 1-2 punch with a lefty and a righty starter. So I'm hoping we invest in him down the long run, in the long run too, but I could also see him kind of being that trade deadline bait potentially. Uh, I don't think Reese Olson would pull in as big of a return as Jack Flaherty, but I think it's still a thing that they could be thinking about. Um, yeah, so definitely some trade deadline moves could happen. I would be okay with letting go of Torkelson. I want to see. I need more production. We need more offense, right? We need more consistency. If we were to trade a good, like a pitcher that we have right now that is doing really well, I would much rather see Olson be traded than Flaherty or Skubal. Again, I understand that's not going to bring in as probably as big names as the other two, but if for some reason that they just want prospects, Olson would be the one. Because I don't think we're going to get prospects for like Kenta Maeda. I think we are going to be eating that contract this year. I'm really hoping that he can turn it around for the second half. He did show in a bullpen appearance right before All-Star break that he can be effective. I think it was like 3 shutout innings that he pitched out of the bullpen, and he was fired up. He was feeling good. So could have some good things there too. Um, One thing that I would also like to see some improvement on is Shelby Miller. I felt like Shelby Miller was supposed to be a really, really good arm coming into the season, and just like Kenta Maeda, he just really hasn't performed to the Tigers, or at least my expectations. I would not want a professional pitcher that's making millions of dollars to be pitching out of my bullpen with a 5+ ERA currently. I mean, the dude isn't even um uh he hasn't even given us enough, in my opinion, to put him in key situations. I feel like there's certain people in the bullpen where it's like if we have a huge lead, we're going to put you in. If we got a small lead, we're going to avoid you. And I think Shelby Miller has kind of fell into that, unfortunately. Could he build it back up? Could he get that ERA down and prove to us, maybe with the second half of July, first half of August, have a great next 30 days, maybe we see some turnaround. But the Tigers need to, between July and August, have to perform enough to be competitive in September. So if we do not turn things around and we have a lot of the same the next month and a half, they're toast for September, and we're gonna have to just wait till next year. But if they are coming off of this high that they basically have with the 8-2 final 10 games of the first half, and they rip into some teams, because they have, what was their schedule? They have a whole bunch. So when they come back on Friday, they have a 3-game series in Toronto. But after that 3-game series, they got 4, 7, 9, 13 straight games of in the inter division play. So that's a lot of movement that could be happening. And that's across that's two, there's one longer 4-game series with Cleveland, one short series with Cleveland, but then a 3-game series with Minnesota and a 4-game series with Kansas City. If we can come out of that winning each of those series, that's asking a lot. But if we come out of there winning each of those series, so 3 out of 4 from the first Cleveland, 2 out of 3 in the Minnesota, sweeping the two for Cleveland, and then winning 3 out of the 4 from Kansas City, I think the Tigers will be in a much different place than they are right now. And I think that would be a great start to being competitive in September. So those are some of my thoughts on the Tigers season so far. I am rooting for them. I watched almost every single game. I am hoping that they can, put themselves in a position where they are competitive in September. And watch out for that trade deadline. I am nervous and hopeful at the same time for what we could potentially get. I'd much rather be buyers at the trade deadline just because I feel like we've done too much of getting rid of good players and getting prospects. I would be willing to trade prospects for a good name to come and maybe package Torkelson with a nice prospect and get a proven first base player or something like that. Uh, I would be down for that. I I don't know who would do it or what first baseman we would snag, but that's something that would be kind of up my alley. But if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Drops a like if you like the video and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on the Tigers' first half of the 2024 season. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.